Ciao a tutti, it's Adam, and today we are finally updating the hot format tier list. Though frankly, it's the main difference is I got a new microphone, and there's more people, and I'm gonna actually show you all of the deck lists, or almost all of them. There's a couple that there's I don't have a list. So, yeah, before we get into it, remember to subscribe. For every subscriber, Bottomless will get wiretapped away, and yeah, also keep in mind that new announcement on the 27th of September, we are hosting a money tournament, $5 to enter. All money goes to the prize pool, and also just reminder that I coach $10 an hour. Let's go. So we got agents. Agents, kinda an interesting deck because it's a deck that obviously you want to play artifacts in it, but it doesn't really see any play. But I do think it's kinda decent. I do quite like the deck, and you can take a lot of advantage of fair support more so than other fairy decks because you don't you kind of just set up turn one, so your ideal turn one is like normal summon earth, set a bunch of artifacts and pass, and then you have all of your boss monsters, and with this kinds of playstyle you can really just play duality and cards from the sky and not have it conflict too much with the rest of the deck, and also soul charge um, for later on. It doesn't don't really mind skipping the battle phase too much. What am I saying? I don't know. Off to a great start, but yeah, agents. I feel like it's a deck that is very unexplored. Can top. Nobody's really bringing it, so gonna put it in mid rogue. It's not the best, but you know. Next we have anti-meta, which I'm gonna put in low rogue because in this format anti-meta is not really doing much. Did I skip anti-meta? Yeah. It's not really doing much because this is a control meta, and you can't really stun control too well. You kind of just, anti-meta really works a lot better versus combo, and combo decks are not very strong. So anti-meta not the best pick. Archfiends, I'm gonna put in mid rogue. The deck has topped once, but even then it's kind of just like carried by artifacts, and I don't I don't really see Archfiend as being that strong, but I might be wrong because at the same time it has stopped. So uh, but I don't really feel confident in the deck enough to put it in high rogue. Um, so yeah, and also the deck kind of the deck loves tour guide, but tour guide is not really strong in the format. So there's also that the rank 3 pool is not the best. Next up we have pure artifacts, which I'm gonna put in mid rogue. It's kind of like similar to agents, where you kind of just maybe want to take advantage of some fair support, but at the same time, kind of defining a pure artifact deck is kind of hard because you can kind of just take it in so many ways. So yeah. But next up, we finally have our big boy, our first big boy, Artifact Traptrix. It's going in the tier one. Tier one, it's kind of the best deck, kinda. I still think that Mermail is pretty much on par with the deck. It's just that Artifact Traptrix is so much easier to pick up and play. There's Cat, pretty standardized list at this point. There's Hat, not as standardized, so I'm just gonna show you ratios because all of the lists are kind of unoptimized in my opinion. But people are just playing kind of tech slots are there as their last one or two cards. But kind of the strength of one of the cool things about Hat is, as a format and as a deck, is that you really can just play whatever. And Hat and Cat are tier one, but everything else can kind of just you know you can play it, and you might do well with it. There's a lot of different lists that topped. If we go to the homepage, we can see that not just Hands and Pure and Firefist have tops, but also Chaos, Lightsworn, Tribute Sun, Zombie World. That's kind of a fluke, and Plants. It's also a cool list. Um, but yeah, Artifact Traptrix. It's kind of the face of the format. Next up, we have Baby Raccoon, which I'm gonna put in High Rogue. The deck has stopped twice. It's kind of this list is kind of a mesh of it's an engine mesh deck, but it's also made by Falco, so I kind of just expect that. So there's no particularly optimized list, but you can also kind of play the deck more pure. That probably works with the Pompocus and such. So yeah, there's the deck is versatile. The deck can do quite a lot, but at the same time, it's kind of limited in the fact that it's Raccoons, and you can't you can do a lot of things, but there's some things you just can't really do well. So like beating over shit, except you can because of Sunday. What am I talking about? Boxers, Battlin boxers, a deck that I definitely like, but at some point, if you go back in 2022, I thought the deck was the shit. Now I think the deck is shit. Shit happens. But the deck is also versatile somewhat. You can play it more protected castle, or you can play it more floodgate like. Um, but at the end of the day, the deck's issues don't really go away. You don't have enough engine really. The only great turn one normal summon is Headgear, and besides that, your next best turn one is like normal summon plus extender. But after turn one, the extenders are dead because you just really want to make a level chain, and afterwards you're kind of just looping switch hitter back and forth. So the extenders are not the best. So it's weird. It's weird. Boxers are a weird deck. Let's just move on. I could talk about a lot about boxers. Blackwings, I'm gonna put in mid rogue simply because they are a decent, pretty good deck in Vegas format. But in hot format, relying on a continuous spell to survive is not the best. But and also their main best things in Vegas are like you can abuse their powerful trap cards, but in hot format, they get kinda countered by artifacts, so they're not as strong too. So there's also that. I don't know why I put one soul charge in this deck, but kinda the main reason why I'm putting more attack here is because it's a 5, so you can make synchros with it. You can make Vulcan with it and Orochi. That's great. And Vulcan is kinda why the deck is strong is in Vegas. But also because of Vulcan, you can abuse Call of the Haunted, but there's no real great target in Blackwings, so Moral Attack kind of just fits in as the best Call of the Haunted target that you can play. Yeah. Deck's kind of mid, basically. Am I over explaining this? Am I going to probably? Yeah. Bujins, tier 1.5. Great deck, great matchup spread. This is a pretty standard list with anti-artifact builds. If you're into hot format and you see where's Kaiser Colosseum, don't really play it anymore. People just play anti-artifact cards because it's the if you look at the matchup spread, you have great matchups all around, except for a couple of decks like Gravekeepers and Spellbooks that you can't really win versus. And then you have artifact decks, which you have a bad matchup, but you can over prepare for in the main deck and kind of beat sometimes. So that's kind of why the deck doesn't look like it did 2014. But yeah, very solid matchup spread. Very easy to pick up and play. Too easy, it's boring as fuck. But yeah, definitely one of the best decks in the format. Next up, we have Chainbeat, which I'm gonna put in low rogue because, yeesh, this deck does not like artifacts at all. Yeah, it's kind of completely countered by artifact decks in every single sort of way. But if you don't encounter any artifact decks, you can top. So maybe, probably, I don't know. Not very likely. Chainburn, definitely in high rogue. The deck has stopped a couple of times, but it's also Chainburn, so fuck this deck. Please don't play it. Chronomalies, I don't have a list. I don't have it. Nobody has played it in a tournament. I could find it, but that's just too much work. So yeah, it's just worse Constellar. Speaking of which, Constellars, tier 2, definitely. You know me, you know Constellars. I don't really need to talk too much about the deck's strengths and weaknesses, maybe, but they probably should because it's tier list. Basically, it's min maxed artifacts. It's the min maxed artifact. It's the aggro west of artifact decks. Just it's a combo deck that skips the combos and just makes the end board with two summons, and then isn't weak to max C because you summon both during your turn and during the opponent's turn, and then turn 3 and then turn 4. You really spread out your special summons, so you don't really care about max C. But at the same time, you kind of just really suck against flank C. So keep that in mind. And Crow is also a bitch, but yeah, and also you can't really play in the grand game. So yeah, then we have counter fairies. You know, I do feel like the deck has potential simply because you can kind of just pilot with artifacts and hands, and that is something. But at the same time, the counter fairies cards themselves aren't that great. Artemis is good, but it's kind of weak. 1600 is the format says threshold, and you can just crash Mermails into it, and you can't necessarily do anything about it sometimes. But and also the counter traps in the format, you have wiretap, you have warning, you have the bank, and then you're kind of just putting shit in just to make Artemis good because there's only one solemn in the entire format. So that kind of sucks about the deck. But yeah, I feel like the deck has potential simply because you can kind of just engine your way out of it. Anyways, Cyber Dragons. Just Cyber Dragon artifact. Pure Cyber Dragons are not really a thing in the format, but Cyber Dragon artifact really solid deck. If you don't have MST when they Cyber Network, it can kind of be a pain to deal with. It's also kind of hard to side for because Light Imprisoning Mirror, Crow, they are not as effective versus this deck as they are usually for artifact decks. So unless if you're not siding MSTs, you're kind of just screwed in siding. So it's a very solid deck, but it's also pretty hard to pilot. So yeah, I'm probably gonna be at the bottom of tier 3 though. Next up we have Dark Worlds, which I'm gonna put in mid rogue. I'm not ordering mid rogue or low rogue or casual. Maybe high rogue. I don't know. Probably not. But Dark Worlds much better deck in Firewater and Vegas format than they are in Hat because they just lose to every new thing that is added in Hat. They don't take that much advantage of Soul Charge. I don't know why I didn't play any. Maybe I forgot, but at the same time, Grapha already comes back. You banish your graveyard with gates. You know, this is not a Soul Charge deck unless you build it to be that way, which could be a thing. But more importantly, Rhapsody in Berserk is everywhere. Diddy Crow is everywhere. Artifacts are everywhere. Hands are everywhere. There's just a lot of things that counter the deck. MSTs are everywhere because of artifact cards. Ignition, double second, that kind of shit. Bottomless is everywhere because Mermaleo is very common. So yeah, like just a lot of things that really hate the deck. Next up, we have Dragunity, which I'm putting in High Rogue. It's kind of like a worse version of Heraldics, which we'll get to use soon. But yeah, it has top before, top forward. It's cool combo deck, but not the best combo deck. So yeah. Duststones, I don't have a list, so I'm kind of automatically putting in the casual. Electrum, I'm putting in low rogue. You know, can do some things. Maybe I don't know. Not an expert on the deck. Let's just put it that way. I don't really know what the deck does. Besides, OTK, but it plays 4 bricks to do so, and relying on seeing a 2-card combo, which it's not the hardest thing in the world. You can just build around playing, getting to it, with upstarts and dualities and card cards. But at the same time, you're playing 4 bricks. It's not the best, and you don't really have engine space to play some other engine, like artifacts to play secondary win conditions. So there's quite a bit of issues with the deck. Next we have Evilswarms, which solid tier 3 deck. Um, I really like Dennis the Menace's list with the Tokagas and Chalice. I do think Chalice is a lot better than Recruit Skill in this deck because the turn 2 interaction versus Moral Attack is a lot more important than Recruit Skill because you don't, if you're using Recruit Skill, you're already losing. So Chalice kind of just puts you on the winning position. So that's why I prefer it. But yeah, even thing is kind of like nobody's playing the deck, so just keep that in mind. Um, Next we have Evil Source, which I'm putting in mid rogue. It's probably one of the worst decks that has stopped, but the Evil Zars are pretty good. Not gonna lie. So there's that. Um, Also, I just noticed that I don't have Drax in this tier list, so I'll add them in shortly, mid video. But yeah, next up we have Exodia, which I'm putting in casual because it's a bit too slow. Just kind of can just play Chainburn. There's no chicken game in the format. Into the Void is not that strong. So if chicken game was in the format, it would be a lot better. But that card is like a year and a half away. So yeah. Then we have Fables, which pure Fables would fall under casual. Synchro spam Fables, not the best deck. I love the deck, but it's kind of just for fun solitaire deck. But I do feel like Fabled, Catseed control has some potential. Although you could just put this in with the artifact Traptrix decks, but I don't care. Feel like it's a decent deck, so I'm gonna put it in mid rogue, and yeah. Next up, we have Fire Fists, which are definitely probably going in bottom of tier 3, maybe? Yeah, yes. Or High Rogue. Yeah, actually, top of High Rogue simply because there's not enough Mermails or Mermail players running around right now, and that's kind of the only good matchup that Firetrix has. Well, Fire Fist in general. There's also Fire Fist Artifact Traptrix, which I'm also kinda counting as Fire Fist. There's also 3.5 Axis Fire Fist, which is kind of just worst. But as you can see, Mermail is kind of the only great matchup for the deck. Everything else is kind of just shit. So, yeah, that's kind of why I don't think Fire Fists hold up very well in the format. Next up, we have Fire Kings, which are pretty underexplored. They don't really have tops. Oh, but of the decks that do have tops, I don't think it's that bad. Um, you can play hands, you can play artifacts too, because Yaksha can pop artifacts, so that's pretty strong. And yeah, it's you have access to skill drain, that's pretty good. Not the worst deck. Frankly, maybe could just yeah, could actually just bump it up to high rogue, maybe. Yeah, feel like that's kind of fair. Next up, we have frogs, which are also definitely going in high rogue. Frogs cannot OTK out of fucking nowhere. I swear to God. Oh, it's not like out of nowhere, but they need to set up a shit ton, but they can set up quite a lot. Um, and you can play either 40 cards or 60 cards. Both are kind of fine. Next, we have gadgets, which definitely in high rogue, somewhat the top of high rogue. Um, gadgets kind of just worst heraldic beast, which we'll get to later. But it is a really noob friendly deck. You have access to some cool shit like Geargias for Cycle Reader in the side deck, turn 1. Um, you can kind of just combo out of nowhere with Change Summoning. Or Soul Charge, you have a really strong Soul Charge. You have rank 7 access, so you can play Mind Control. There's a lot of cool stuff about gadgets. But yeah, at the same time, it's kind of just outclassed at the rank 4 spam roll by heraldic beasts. So yeah, and then we have Gagagas, which are shit. This is the best list I could come up with. It's basically a blind second list, which should tell you all about how desperate this deck is for shit. So yeah. But then we have Galaxy Eyes, which I don't even have a list for. Um, they can make Pleiades, which is kind of cool. So there's that. But yeah, and they kind of struggle at making things. Um, well, actually, I think there might be a list somewhere. Hold up. Uh, Galaxy. Yeah. Oh, shit. Yeah. Can do this. Nice. I think there's no. Never mind. I thought there was a list somewhere. Maybe two. No, well, whatever. It's fine. It's fine. Yeah, maybe low rogue. Fine because you have access to both Pleiades and Felgrand, so that's pretty insane. Also, those are pretty good things, but at the same time, yeah, it's Galaxy Eyes. But next up, we have one of the big boys, Geargias. I feel like Geargia is kinda the weakest in tier 1 simply because of the matchup spread, but at the end of the day, Gear just it's kind of the best card. It's definitely one of the best cards in the format. Top 5, yes, absolutely. Probably even higher. It's like just if you draw Gear, these matchups are gonna be fine even if you draw Gear. That's kind of the gist of it. But you do lose to Spellbooks and Bujin, which is relevant, and Mermails, which is relevant because they were obviously very strong decks. But you have a great Artifact Traptrix matchup. You have a lot of other great matchups beside below the tier 1 and tier 1.5 decks. So yeah, I also have a bad Gravekeeper matchup. So yeah, and it's also kind of another really easy to play deck alongside Bujins and Artifact Traptrix. You can kind of just give these to a new player and they might even top. So yeah. Um, Next up we have Gem Knights, which I don't have a list even for. It's casual. It runs out of resources. It runs out of resources very fast, even with stuff like Under Dragon and Volcanic Shell. Uh, Then we have Ghostricks, which definitely an high rogue. We have mainly talking about Ghostrick artifacts, but there's also Ghostrick Dark Creator. Um, with Dark Creator and Tour Guide and Queer Bandit. And there's also pure Ghostrick, but that deck is kind of shit, so I'm not really counting it. I mean, like it's not when it's in High Rogue. There's no Angel, so otherwise it would be in High Rogue if it had an Angel, maybe even tier 3, but without it, stuck in High Rogue because of the artifact variants. Then we have Gimmick Puppets, which probably mid rogue, maybe high rogue, but it's kind of bad rank 8 turbo deck. Can also make rank 4s. I guess rank 7. So, Machinas, yeah. Yeah, not the best deck, but it has bubbled ones. Next up, we have Gishkis, which if you go take a look at the Gishkis stats, this is kind of fucking ridiculous. There's like there's there's different ritual builds, and then there's different Foraxis builds, and yeah, you can kind of build Gishkis in a lot of different ways. So it has no tops yet, but I'm willing to bet that eventually one of these builds will top. So I'm putting it in mid rogue just to be sure. Then we have Glad Beasts, which kind of just suck. They kind of just weak, They kind of just suck. Probably, actually, I'm gonna put in low rogue. Fuck, fuck gladiator beasts. You know what? I'm not gonna put in low rogue. Go go goes. Go go goes are awesome. I love go go go. I actually have built like 4 different go lists. Haven't brought any to a tournament because I couldn't optimize it. I couldn't find the perfect list. But I think this is, I think, maybe the best I've come up with. Just like instead of trying to set up shit, I'm just have the normal summons in, the things that want to go to the graveyard. I just normal summon them and I search and I get an extender and I make a rank 4. Maybe I make a lavable chain. So I have Mizuki, Gagagas, Ghost, and Golem, and those cards want to go to the graveyard. Zephyros and Donny too, and then I have extenders. Whatever. Rank 4 deck, very cool rank 4 deck in my opinion. I like it. I like it a lot. Um, but it's not the best rank 4 deck because it's also a Wolf Park reliant rank 4 deck, kind of like Battling Boxers, and that comes with a lot of issues. But there's you know it's still a rank 4 deck. At the end of the day, it can't be too bad. Speaking of too bad Gorgonics, I don't really know why I have this in the tier list. I feel like next time I should probably just cut them because they don't really exist. Next we have Gravekeepers, which I'm putting it at the top of tier 2 because of Gravekeeper artifacts. Now, pure Gravekeepers are probably in mid rogue because Necroval is just not that impactful overall, but it is a very strong support for artifacts because it stops Crow, it stops Breaker Skills, Grave Effect, stops Bank. So there's a lot of synergy between Necrovalley and the artifacts. So Gravekeepers are good mainly because of that. And then you can play hands or Traptrixes or kind of whatever you want. You play the other engine to round out the deck, and it's a very strong deck. It's have very solid matchups overall in the format. Kind of besides Mermails, ironically. Then we have Gustos. Gustos I am putting in midrock because I feel like there is some potential here. They float a lot. They can make some pretty strong synchros. Freeze is pretty strong. You can kind of just cheese your opponent with it. Then you have access to stuff like Totem Bird and Lightning Chidori. And Synchro Pool, pretty good. It's pretty decent. Mistform. So yeah, Gusto's kind of solid. Also have 3 copies of Vitale, so that's pretty good. Then we have Harpies, which I am putting in High Rogue because you can splash and pretty well with artifacts. Kind of the issue is that you don't really ever want to face artifacts, so keep that in mind. But they eat through back rows. They can make artifacts. They can unbrick artifacts pretty easily. So I feel like the deck is pretty solid, and also has access to Lightning Chidori, so that's always good. Easy Flames, I don't even have a list. Now Heraldic Beast, one of my favorite decks in the format, definitely near the top of tier 3. It's kind of another of these decks that you can apparently handle them to newcomer to the format and it'll do good, because this happened twice this year. I'm not even fucking kidding. Both Bobby X and Vine Minecraft, I think it was they're the first or second tournaments and they fucking won them. So yeah, shoutouts to Bobby X for actually um, solving the deck. I love the deck. I played it before, but frankly, my list pales in comparisons to his. So just use this or Vanji's list. It just swaps out Lance for second normally. I like to have 3 Lances for going second because I know a part of why this deck is a lot stronger than it's stronger than gadgets in my opinion is because you can actually shit out Exiton. Gadgets, they kind of keep getting advantage, and you become not just weak to Exiton, but you can't really make it. With Heraldics, you have very easy access to Exiton. You also have very easy access to Chidori for just removing very annoying stuff. And you also have access to Phoenix with Mimbras, so that's pretty good. So yeah, Heraldics is a very solid deck. Next up, we have Heralds. Mm, for one, I should move anti-meta down, but Herald is kind of just a pretty weak stun deck. Once you set it up, it's very good, but the problem is like Agents can take advantage of the fairy support in the format, but that said, fairy support is mainly just it's a lot better for the playstyle of setting up or turn one and then going off later. Herald needs to go off on turn one, and if you do that, the deck is very inconsistent. But if you build it for consistency to go into later turns, then the deck is actually very weak. So yeah, I don't think the deck is very good. Basically, I tried, I gave up. Yeah. Then we have Hero Beat. I'm putting it in low rogue and not casual because, uh, well, you can play hands pretty well, and oh yeah, that's kind of it really. I don't know what the fuck is this Mizuki Blixper build is. Oh, I guess it's Zombie World, but yeah, I don't really get it. I guess it's for Super Poly. Okay, that makes sense. What is this? Huh? The fuck is this card? Okay, I discovered a new card that I never knew existed before. Dope. Anyways, yeah, Hero Beats, kind of being power crept a lot, but at the same time, you can kind of just engine your way out of the deck's suckiness. So that's good. But without Stratos, you don't really have a strong turn one play that isn't just a normal summon alias. Then we have Erotic Rulers, which I am putting in tier three. Uh, it's kind of it's very strong when it goes off. The issue is it's a three card combo deck, so the chances of it going off is not very high. And of these cards, not like half the deck is a part of the list of cards that actually three card combo. The rest is like trying to get to those or making those work. So yeah, not very consistent. You need quite a bit of luck to win, but it's very strong when it gets going. So yeah, pretty decent deck. Then we have Hunters, which is also another kind of outclassed in rank fours department deck. This deck's main strength is what draft into Axiton Knight, but there's a reason why it hasn't topped in a very long time, and you kind of have to hope to draw the follow up and not brick with it either. So it's not as strong as the gadgets and Heraldics beast. Um, I do think it's a bit weaker than Gogos, maybe. I don't know. Probably not, actually. Probably. This is definitely more results than Gogos. It actually has three tops, though. Like most of them are from before 2020 too. Yeah, shoutouts to Matt Fajan for topping with them in 2021 and Poison for topping with them in 2022. But yeah, kind of just not the best deck. Speaking of not the best deck, Infernities! They're not the best deck! Shut the fuck up! Please! My god, every time I hear a Yugi tuber talk about hot formats, it's Infernity, Sylvan Death. Just look at the top decks. Look, just look. Just look. We have Maxi here in the main deck. This is a combo deck. This is basically a combo deck. We have Crows in the main deck. We have Maxis in the main deck. We have Maxi. No, never mind. But we do have hands, so that's kind of annoying. And artifacts. So those are not the best matchups for Infinities. Actually, Artifact Traptrix is one of the only decks that can actually break an Infinity board with a good enough hand. Um, and we know three Maxis, um, three Maxis, two DD Crows, Maxis and DD Crows, Maxis, Crows. Like half the decks, more than half the decks are playing main deck hand traps, and every other deck is just citing at least 6 hand traps because the fact that every deck is banning hand traps is not because of Infinities, but the fact that every deck is citing hand traps is because of Infinities and other combo decks. It's just a blanket catch-all for combo decks, so that's pretty good. But not great for Infinities because can't really expect to play a match without encountering hand traps. at least once. So when Infernity is just really weak to hand traps, but at the same time when it does come off, it's really strong, and it can go second kinda well depending on what you draw. If you open extenders and Lance and Book of Moon, you can kind of just win going second too. But it's not the most consistent strategy. Um, you have to hope that the opponent either has no anti-Exiton card or doesn't isn't respecting the Exiton. So yeah, not the most reliable thing, but yeah, it's also of like all of the decks in tier 2 and above, and probably even tier 3 and above. This is the least developed deck since 2014. Like lists from today look exactly like 2014 lists. Like, yeah, like the deck is very standardized, which is it's a great thing, but it's not has not been innovated. So maybe there's room for innovation. I don't exclude the fact that it could be stronger than this. Maybe top of tier 2, maybe I don't know, but could also be lower than this. The deck hasn't topped in a year, in the last year, and that is saying the deck is bad because it hasn't topped is kind of just stupid argument. But at the same time, there's not a lot of representation for the deck, and the people that play it aren't good enough to top it. But at the same time, kind of just like there's kind of a reason why it doesn't top. But it will top more often if it had better players. Is what I'm saying. Basically, I don't know why I'm saying this. It's what's the saying? Devil's argument. Yeah, devil's argument. So yeah, and then we have Inzektors, which I'm putting in high rogue. You know, you can splash in artifacts. You can kind of just do a lot of shit if they don't draw DD Crow, and well, nowadays that's kind of likely. So you have to hope to have Call of the Haunted to bounce to summon out the Hornet if it gets crowed. Actually, yeah, I'm putting it in mid rogue. The crow is just everywhere. Don't I don't really. I think the deck has been a bit left behind by the fact that crow is everywhere nowadays. Next up, we have Iron Chain, which I think is a pretty decent combo deck, going in mid rogue in my opinion. Uh, you know, Shoutouts to Necropants, I think, for bringing the deck to people's attention. Feel like it's pretty solid, and I also have a video on it, so check that out if you're interested. Next, we have Drax, which I don't have a list because I'm considering bringing it to an event soon, and I don't want to spoil it. I'm an asshole. Deal with it. What you gonna do about it? Um, but yeah, I feel like it's fine. You can make Evilswarms pretty easily, probably even easier than Evols are. So yeah, but at the same time the Juraks are kind of weak, but at the same time you can kind of just engine mash them together, so it's fine, I guess. Then we have Karakuris, which pure Karakuris are like mid rogue. They're not terrible for a combo deck, but they're not that great. But Geargia Karakuri is definitely a solid deck. So bottom of tier 3, I guess. Although frankly, I still regret having put Geargia Karakuri as its own separate thing from Geargias. I I kind of just want to move Geargia Karakuri to Geargias, frankly. Next up, we have Koa'ki Meirus, which are a very solid rank 4 deck. It's kind of different from the other rank 4 decks because, um, at the end of the day, it's neither searching out its advantage nor getting its um, comeback, really. And it's also not playing the Kageto Kages and regular extenders that most rank 4 decks play. But why would you need that when you have Ornite being a 22,000 KB eater? We have removal in Ice and Bear. You have access to the Fire Fists if you want to, and you can play a bunch of traps and you can OTK. You can a lot of fucking damage, and you can even play Gear because that's a strong card in the format. So yeah, yeah, very 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 nice deck, very solid deck. Now Laval artifact is probably one of the best decks in the format that has 0 tops. Um, Mainly for the artifact build because summoning level 6s and level 8s is pretty good. Well, level 6s I mainly just mean Vulcan. With artifacts it synergizes, but well, with Cold Haunted. But besides that, you have level 8 access, you have level 5 access, which means Armadius, which means Ladies. Um, so the artifact build pretty damn solid, but there's also other builds which I don't think are nearly as good. Yeah. Next, we have Lightsworns, which if you're looking at just Lightsworn rulers, it will be in High Rogue, but they're kind of pulled up by Chaosworn, which are a pretty solid deck. It's kind of worse mythics, but at the same time, it just works. Make level 8s, make level 6s, make rank 4s, make rank 6s, make Felgrand, I guess. Sometimes you have even very easy Leo access, which is very good. You have access to Beals and Darken Dragon, which are solid cards. It's a very solid deck overall. Just kind of outclassed by other decks. Then we have Madolches, which I am putting at the top of tier 3 because the deck is unoptimized. But it also the deck has a lot of tops, but that's also because it has a lot of people who like the deck. Um, I don't think there's any particularly optimized build though or list, so um, could definitely be improved and could definitely rise up through the rankings, in my opinion, more than falling further. But at the same time, it is very weak to hand traps and and interrupts. In general, and also MSTs. So it's quite frail, but if it gets going, it's very strong. Magical Explosion, not really a deck. Don't sure why I have it here. Malice Virus, Malefics. I'm putting in Midrogue. It's a decent stand deck. All things considered, you can even play it more turbo like, but solid stand deck. Necro Valley plus skill drain is pretty good. You can end rip with the roller tribute and eradicate a epidemic virus. You have beaters, it's a fine deck. Then we have Mecha Phantom Beasts, which I'm also putting in mid rogue. There's my list, which is a combo deck. There's also control lists. Um, I don't think the deck is very good at controlling, so I would rather just play combo because I can play Mathematician and Scrapper Cycler, which are very good. If you draw another Mega Phantom Beast, you can just dump Lion and kind of full combo of that plus an extender. Um, yeah. And then we have Melee Turbo, which I'm don't have a list for, and I'm putting in Low Rogue because it's kind of just worse Sylvans. And now there's even another plant deck in the format that runs Melee, but it's not really Melee Turbo deck at all. It's just kind of there. Finally, we get to the third of the tier 1 decks, Mermails, which I'm gonna put between Ath and Geargias. It's not as played as these two decks because it's a lot harder to play. But at the same time, it's very strong. It's kind of like Cat. It's one of the best decks at going second in the format. Um, Solidly consistent. You can play quite a bit of tech cards. It's not like you can play quite a bit of tech cards, but it's you're not really forced to play 40 anymore, like you are with most other decks. Though lately people have been veering more and more towards playing 40, but back in the day that wasn't really the case. If you look at you know, it, I'm not entirely sure whether cutting to 40 is the best thing for Mermails. But at the same time, it's not. It's probably not wrong either. So, but regardless of that, Mermos, beats Geargias, uh, beats Gravekeepers. Kind of beats Artifact Traptrix. Kinda. Yeah, it's there's a lot of decent matchups. Not too many terrible matchups, I think. uh, you know, Artifact Traptrix and Bujins are not terrible matchups. They're kind of mid, but it's fine. Kind of the worst matchup of the deck besides Fire Fist is Mythic Rulers. Um, Apparently Madolches, which I guess makes sense because you don't really play as many interruptions as Madolches fear. So usually Madolches really don't want to face versus Crow and Bottomless and Breakthrough and Artifacts and MSTs and um, you know Mermails just plays Breakthrough in Maxi. So usually, well, now people are starting to main deck Diddy Crow. Yeah, I'm digressing here. We have Monarchs, which I'm putting in High Rogue because Extra Plants' list is scary. Triple Jinzo, Mobius the Mega Monarch. Jesus, that's a scary. Mommy, I'm calling mommy. No, but in all seriousness, yeah, the deck is pretty good. I think. I feel like the deck is pretty good. It hasn't topped yet, but I feel like it's pretty close. It's gonna top eventually. Sure of it. Then we have Mythic Rulers, which I'm putting in tier 2. Solid deck. Uh, Not the most consistent, but it's a combo deck that can kinda. That's also a mid-range deck, kinda. That's also an aggro deck, kinda. So it's also a stun deck, kinda. It's a lot of things, kinda. I don't know what. Let's just move. Like the reason why it's better than Infernity is because it can grind pretty well. It's not that doesn't die to hand traps and as much because it's also not as much a combo deck. So you don't really care about flank C. You don't lose instantly to max C. Obviously, you're really weak to Crow, but every deck has got its Achilles heel. But and you're also able to take advantage of skill ring, which is pretty good. Then we have ninjas, which I'm in my ninja phase, but frankly, I don't think the deck is any better than mid rogue. Even if you can play it in so many different ways, they're not that strong. I might change my mind later and put it in high rogue next time, but for now, I feel like mid rogue is fine. I do think the deck is a lot better in Vegas and Firewater, though, especially Firewater, depending on the build. Um, then we have Noble Knights, which are a very inconsistent deck. That's kind of the main issue because once you get your big guys into play, then it's very good. But before that, you're kind of just hoping that artifacts pull you through. You can set up, and yeah, though the fact that the Evilswarmers are not seeing very much play is a big benefit to it because that means people aren't playing XPC Anchor, so that's good, right? Next we have Ojamas, which I'm putting in mid rogue. It's not the worst deck in the world. That's kind of it. You can play artifacts. You can kind of play hands and Traptrix if you want to. You can play Phoenix with Main Blast, which is good. You can play Instant Fusion, I guess. Make 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 ladies. Yeah, I got nothing. Plants. I'm putting in Midrogue Plant Princess. It nearly won an event, and God knows how. Um, you know, the thing is like kind of getting that. It's fine. I'll put it in high rogue because once you get the princesses up on the field, the deck is pretty good. The problem is like kind of getting there, but you have Soul Charge, you have Miracle Fertilizer, you have Call of the Haunted, so it's not impossible. So there's that. Um, yeah. Then we have Psychics, which are definitely underrated in my opinion. I quite like the deck. Um, you have easy Leo access. Frankly, you can play 2 Leos. Probably should. Then you also have. I don't know why I'm not playing this here. I should be playing Nashira Beast. This list is not optimized. If you want an optimized Nashira Mythic Psychic 3, Mythic Psychic Traptrix list, I have a deck profile of it. It's a deck I quite enjoy. But you have easy Leo access, you have easy Nut Beast access, you have easy Nut Barkion access. So there's those cards are quite strong. You also have Falcon access, so you can kind of just cheese your way to a win by getting to the best Exodia monster for the matchup. Then we have Roxanne, which ironically I do have our deck profile on in real life, but I don't have it on Dwelling Book because I don't know. But I'm gonna put it in low rogue. It's not a very good stun deck. Scraps, I'm also gonna put in low rogue. The deck just doesn't really work. I tried so hard and got so far. I didn't get far at all. Deck's bad. Deck's just bad. I'm sorry. I want the deck to be good. I like scraps, but it's bad. I'm sorry. Anyway, Six Samurai. I'm gonna put it in mid rogue. It has its dedicated players, but I activate Artifact Sanctum. What's Xian gonna do about it? What's Barkyon gonna do about it? What's Natbeast gonna do about it? Nothing. That's what, because I'm gonna pop them regardless with Sanctum. So yeah. Even besides that, hands are a pretty big pain in the nuts because you can't really leave your continuous spells up if they have those, and your monsters are not the highest defense. Your boss monsters, mainly Xian I'm talking about, and it's also Xian is at one. So, there's that. Um, there's a reason why it hasn't topped yet. Even though it is decently popular. Recently, it's like uh, 20, 28th. It's the 28th most played deck in the format. How about that? Should be 27th because I shouldn't. Geargia Karakuri should just be something with Geargias. I'm saying it like I don't have the power to change that. I do. I'm just lazy, I guess, and don't want people to get mad at me. Anyways, spellbooks. Spellbooks, very good deck. Not very represented nowadays, but very good deck. Um, has a bad artifact matchup and then kind of just runs over a lot of stuff. You steamroll Bujins, you steamroll Geargias, if you go first. It's 50-50 versus Mermails, but you do have your bad matchups in artifacts. So yeah, you keep that in mind. But overall, um, kind of just it's kind of like I do think it's very much boosted by the fact that Geargia and Bujins you beat, and those are very good decks. Um, and you don't really lose to anything besides artifacts. So yeah, that is a pretty serviceable weakness to have. Then you also have the fact that the deck plays passively, so it's kind of exploitable sometimes. And it's also skillful, so not a lot of people are playing it. But at the same time, you kind of just out advantage any deck in the format. So there's also that if you're not playing correctly versus them. Then we have spirits, which I am putting definitely in high rogue, probably at the top of high rogue. There's a lot of ways to play the deck. Ironically, it's split exactly. One third is playing the Ghostrick engine, one third is playing the ends, and one third is playing neither. Regardless, there's it's a solid rank 4 deck. It's kind of slow, but at the same time, you for some reason have a really strong artifact matchup. Apparently, I don't know if it's just the data being funny, but it's kind of weird. I don't know, but at the same time, it's not as strong and it's kind of exploitable uh, compared to Heraldic Beasts. So yeah, kind of the gold standard of I make rank 4s and that's my whole game plan. Dex is Heraldic Beast in the format right now. So yeah. Then we have Sylvans, which up until the 10th anniversary, I would have put here, but afterwards, I think I'm gonna put Sylvans between Mythics and Infernities because of the control build. I feel like Control Sylvans is quite a good deck. I have to try it out, but I really want to, and you can rest assured that I will bring it to a tournament at one point or another. Um, but you can abuse Flying Sea, which is nice when Constellars are gaining prominence, and Geargias kind of everywhere. Uh, you have Rivalry, which is just a mean card, much better than Vanities. Um, but combo Sylvan is, I don't think is as good anymore. In good part because it's a combo deck, so it's kind of kind of makes it better by default in that format. Um, then we have Synchrons, which, yeah, I do have some ratios though for Synchrons, so, and that's kind of cool. But it's a weak combo deck, so, although, yeah. Then we have Tribute Stun, which I am putting in Midrog for a stun deck. I don't think it's that bad. And if you go first, you have really strong cards, but you're kind of worried about breaker skill, so that's kind of bad. But then if you go second, you are not too dead because you have uh, quite big beaters to summon out, though. So there's that. Then we have, oh, sorry. Then we have Umbral Horrors, which I'm not gonna show a list for because if you've seen a couple of tier lists ago, put them quite a bit higher than needed because I thought that Gravekeeper Spy could summon Gravekeeper's Ambusher, which is the only Gravekeeper with zero attack, zero defense. But you can't because Spy can only summon monster with 1500 attack or less. So ever since then, the deck I was too disappointed by that because I thought I found something very cool, but the deck is doesn't have the secret spice that I was hoping for. But it's still a rank 4 deck, so it's okay. I should probably add the box of friends, to be honest, to the tier list. I feel like that it's kind of just a worse box of friends. Then we have Utopia. I don't know what deck this is supposed to be. Frankly, I should probably cut it. What's kind of just worse Sanders. Like it's Sanders, but they stall, and yeah, just play Hunters. Then we have windups, which, bro, they fell off. Deck success. You can kind of splash engines with it, but at the same time, the combo aspect is really inconsistent because you just have one magician and one MX Saver Invoker, and besides that, you don't really have much of anything. You can search. Your only way to search cards is with Wind Up Factory, and it's a continuous spell in that format, so not a great thing to be. So yeah, not very good deck in my opinion. Worms I'm putting about near the top of mid rogue because it's one of those decks that you can kind of just engine up. Here we're playing artifacts, hands, Traptrixes. You can really just mash all the engines that you want in there, and it will work very well. Um, so yeah, I do think that is pretty good. Um, and then we have X Sabers, which kind of like wind up six. They don't even have a list. Um, it's slow and bad, and what you gonna do with it, Gotham's? I guess I guess you can kind of just. I guess Gotham's. If you can find a way to make Gotham's plus Soul Charge and Hand Trip 3, and that's, or even more than 3, and that's pretty good. So I guess I'm putting it in mid rogue. Maybe I don't know. Maybe if you fill the deck with extenders to make Gotham's, it might work. But then at the end of the day, you're probably not gonna have a hand either by when you're done. So yeah, yeah. I'm putting it in low rogue. I don't care. And finally, zombies. I'm putting it in mid rogue. It's kind of just worse Chaos Swarm, but it's kind of cool. It my top on the head. I do think the deck has potential. It's kind of just worse Chaos Form, but there's worse things to be. And yeah, that's I'm gonna zoom out so you can kind of just save a screenshot if you want to. Okay. Yeah, that's it from me. I don't know why I can't move the cursor with the mouse. Maybe like this. All right, perfect. There we go. That's it. Leave a like, join the Discord, subscribe, ring the bell, all the good shit. And yeah, goodbye.